going on there, YouTube? So it's been a couple weeks since I got the front end of the Proairrc kit, and I'd started at that time the rear. And last night I got out here and made some new cantilever arms to try and improve it, and it's just not going to work. What I did, you saw I mounted the shocks towards the rear. I've got all this space back here. It's very shallow, but I didn't want to waste all that space, and I don't think I can make it work. I ended up cutting more of the floor out to give more room, and it's just not, it's still not jiving right. Let me show you what we've got here. I've got this hooked up, the only spare ESC I had. This is for the Clodbuster build. Alright, so it works to that point, and then the top of the air cylinder is hitting the pivot point on the cantilever. So the only way to fix that is to move this mount of the cantilever further out, which in turn is going to put it further up into the way. And as you can see, when it lifts, our air lines are actually coming up above the floor. So I think the back's going to be a wash. I'm going to have to start over. I'm going to move them in front of the axle somehow. Now the only problem with that is connecting it to the axle. The only points of contact in the front are the 4-link mounts. And yeah, if you caught that in the high-speed portion, I used another set of 4-link mounts and bolted them to the axle upside down on the bottom. So I had a place on the rear to actually connect to. And that worked out fine. It's just strictly the angles with the struts and stuff not jiving right. So I think I'm going to tear all that apart, and I'm going to use these cantilever arms I made for the front, because I am having the same issue in the front with the when it goes up, the cantilever arm is too short and the strut is hitting the pivot point. So I may try these because they are a fair bit bigger than the ones I have on front now, and it might be enough to get us another 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch of lift in the front. Let me flip it around here and show you. Alright, it's about as zoomed in as I can get you. So as this pivots forward, this part of the strut here, the metal, yeah, it's not a very good pointer, the metal cylinder is actually hitting this bar right up here underneath the cantilever arm. Alright, it's not anymore. What? Not even getting enough lift. And that's another issue I'm running into. It doesn't have enough oomph to lift it with the bed on it. So the only solution to that I see is to bring this point up even higher, so the shocks are more vertical. We're getting more of a, I can show you, getting more of this kind of movement, the shock up, arm down to push the axle. Because right now it's like this, so we're not getting as much leverage pushing on it that way. So it's kind of back to the drawing board. But at least with the way I have this front set up now, I can easily raise this up. I've got my mounts on there, so I can take this all apart, swap out the arm, and bolt it back up here in a higher hole. Hopefully that'll work. We'd probably have to adjust the rod lengths again. It's kind of a pain, but I could even use these back here, because that it's a fair bit longer on the back side. These are some that I made. That might be enough to put the strut far enough away from this and get it a little bit more vertical. I've also considered flipping it to this way as opposed to this way. And that way it's below the pivot point, but it's going to give us more movement because they're going to have to travel further to make it happen. But just not sure. We've got a lot of options to try. That's the downside of this, is it's all trial and error. And this is not easy to tear apart and put back together. The way I've got this cantilever arm here pinned in, there's just no way to do it. So I've got a nut, a spacer, a washer, and a nut. And I just tighten this nut to hold the screw through tight. That nut's just on there to snug up and leave enough room for this to move. Once I get it all finalized, I'll put some grease on it and stuff. That's what I did on my old number 1. And it works great still. It does not function like this. It's not going to be moving up and down with the air ride, but it does work, and it still feels very, very smooth. So I got to pull the bed back off. Then I've got to completely disassemble the rear air struts, pull all that out. And then I've got to completely disassemble the front air struts and start swapping parts around again. So, yeah, let's get to work. Alright guys, got it all taken apart. So I'm going to play with some stuff here. I've got my shock still mounted on the bottom, back on the radius arm mount. It does seem like one compressing further than the other, but it may just be my imagination. I can't tell. I know one was on the back, but it was because my holes were off by a tiny little bit, so yeah, don't feel too bad for me having to scrap the whole back thing. It was kind of a rush thing. I spent an entire day doing the front last time, and then like an hour on the rear, so it didn't come out nearly as square. So I don't want to lose my washers. These were the cantilever arms, Kenny levers, that I had on the front. They were mounted like so, long arm, long side to the back. These are made from Tamiya semi-truck U-bolt plates. I just cut a little bit off, smooth them out. Since then I've become quite proficient at making my own. So I'm thinking this is the one that I had on the... This is the one I made for the rear the first go round. The ones I made for the rear the second time were more triangular and a lot larger. These should give me... Those two holes line up, and that's where the other one is now as opposed to down here. So I'm hoping I'll keep all the rest of it the same and move the shock mount out. I got it upside down, but hope you get the gist of what I'm saying here. I'm going to do it like so, and it's going to come up and bolt there. I think I am going to move it up. I'm thinking about both holes, but I'm not 100% sure yet. I need to go ahead and mount these to the new cantilever arm, the actual suspension links going to the axle, and lay it on the ground, see how high it needs to come, compress the shock, and see how it all works in each position. So we'll go back to high speed so I don't bore you to death. Alright guys, I got that all together. You can see from that angle this side is a little bit different, and that's because I don't have my support bar back in and I haven't welded a front cross member. So I'm getting flex from the front of the frame rails. There's a lot going on up there and it's stressing it. Once we get this finalized that it gives us good lift, we'll start reinforcing it more. I'll put that crossbar back in, and I still do plan on putting something up front. But let's see what happens now. Hey, it snagged a little on the servo wire, but that's just because it was in the way. See, it's causing the frame rails to flex out. That side may be a little loose. Will it go down? Wrong side. I think with some weight it might. I like how fast that's going. That's a good sign. It's going, it's just slow. Once we add some weight to it, we got to act more pressure pushing back up on it. I think it'll go right down. Still not getting a whole lot more lift, but we're getting usable lift. We're going to actually have some suspension flex once we brace the frame. Alright, so I'm going to go further. I'm going to put the brace back in, stiffen the frame up a little bit, and we'll start throwing some more weight at this, see what the front does. I'd like to get the back done, but I got to start over with it, so who knows. I'm looking at it right now. I don't see a way to make it happen, but we'll figure it out. Come on, go down. Let's just put the battery on it. Not enough. Alright, let's just a preliminary test here. We'll throw a whole rat rod on the back, even though the back's not going up. There it goes. Still not going all the way down. It's a lot of weight. Bring the weight further forward. And number 3 rat rod, making all kinds of racket. Oh, no problem lifting that. Now we're cooking, guys. That's looking a lot better. Alright, so we'll put the finishing touches on the front end. We'll roll with that for now. We can always come back and make a new cantilever arm, move it up, down. Really, I don't want to move the bottom of the shocks around because they're sharing that hole. I don't want to have to try to drill parallel holes in that 1-inch C-channel, because I'll have to completely take the entire truck apart, put the halves together, clamp them, and then drill through as one so they're parallel. Really don't want to do that, because that involves tearing the entire truck apart. Suspension brackets off, everything. I like it. It's got speed. That number 3 rat rod is heavy. That thing has all those servos, all that extra wiring. The question is, are we going to be able to lift it up high enough so that the tires can actually turn inside the body, or enough out of the body that they can turn? That's another concern now. At least it's going all the way down now. I didn't make it where the chassis on the ground was the shocks all the way compressed. That was one of the issues I was having, where the shocks don't want to go all the way closed. So they weren't, and it was leaving the chassis off the ground. So I left them. They've got a little bit of slack in them still. They can compress another 1/4 inch or so than what they are currently. I'm not sure what's causing that power fluctuation on this. Could be some of my janky wiring just laying around, but yeah, we just need to stiffen that up, get that frame rail tied together. She wants to work. The cab, the ramp bed, and a whole rat rod on there. Surely it'll go down. And we get to figure out electronics, the battery, the whole 9 yards. So, I'm going to get going. I don't even know what I'm saying right now. I'm so excited it actually kind of works. Alright guys, so I feel like I've confined myself to a small box of ideas here. I went back, I was like, okay, let's just look at the cantilever, and I thought I could mount it from here up, but I have nowhere for the pivot. And it really needs, the pivot needs to be over the axle, and I can't not have it over the axle because the bed. The tires stick through the bed, the axle sits flush with the bed floor all the way down. There's just no space for it. The front's working because I have about 1.5 inches between where it connects to the axle to the cantilever. So, I'm thinking I may have come up with another idea. So I did this just straight off the frame to the same bolt as the 4-link mount, and it gives me tons of lift, but it has absolutely no strength whatsoever. If you put any weight on it, it just goes all the way down. It's just too much of an angle for the shock. It doesn't hold any weight like that. So alright guys, sorry for the mess. This has been weeks in the making. I think I've got every spare spacer and screw I own out. I think I have it. Doesn't like to go down without weight on it, which is a good thing because we're going to have a lot of weight on it. I didn't put them outside like I thought I was thinking. I forgot. I've been thinking about this cantilever design all day. I woke up this morning 20 hours ago and I thought, what if I put a hook on the cantilever arm, that way it allow it to be at a different angle and still give the shocks a better angle, and I think it's gonna work. So that's all we're getting in lift, but it gets there quick and it's firm. It's very firm, so when we stack the weight on, it hopefully will work. Front still works good like it did. A little bit of weight. Front goes down. Back goes down. So let me get you a better look at this rear because it actually looks pretty cool. Alright, so they are off a little bit. Things are not tight. I need more screws. If anybody out there has a hardware company that would like to sponsor the show, please get in touch with me because I need hardware. I've blown through so much stuff with these rat rods, just piecing stuff together, and I am out. I am dying for hardware, whether it's scale or otherwise. I need spacers, these kind of shims and stuff. I just need all kinds of stuff. But it is off just a little bit, like I said, because I need matching bolts for one, and then I can use proper spacing in there instead of just using nuts. Oh, that's the front. So that's maxed out. It is not hitting the upper 4-link. I forgot to mention earlier, I did go ahead and put plastic rod ends on all of the 4-link. I just didn't have the spacers to use the heim joints and make it tight, so they were coming loose and it just wasn't working right. So yeah, this barely sticks up above where my floor is going to be. So I'm probably going to have to notch a little area for that, but there's no other way around it. These lower mounts for the struts are as far down as I can go on the C-channel. So they're, I'm driving on gravel that's going to bang up the ends of the struts. And they need to be as upright as possible. So that's almost a 45-degree angle. So I think this might work. Need to put some weight on it so it'll go down. Alright, so let me throw the bed on here loosely, kind of, and see how it looks. Alright guys, so it's still giving me troubles. It's working, the lift is good. I think I need to lengthen the rods on the rear cantilever. I think that'll give me a little more oomph in the rear. The front, I'm having some issues. It's not too tight. I can still move it freely by hand, but it's giving me issues going back down. So I think I need to play with the bolts up there and try to give those cantilever arms a little more room to wiggle. But yeah, and it's still struggling to pick up the whole thing with a rat rod on the back. Without it, it works fine, but it doesn't want to go down. That's the problem we're having. So here it is with nothing. It's got battery, ESC, hood, front cab. Let's see, B is front. So we're still not getting much lift. It has a little bit more to go. So we may have to play with the rod lengths in the front as well. That's all we're getting out of the rear. I think we can get a little more out of the rear. We need it to carry the weight. I may have to swap out the firm springs inside the struts in the rear. See if that helps it get up there and hold the weight. Going back down, the rear is fine. The front only goes about halfway. There's still plenty of room here. And I've tested it. There's plenty of space. Everything's free and clear. I think it's just the cantilever arm is too tight. So, I don't know. A little more tweaking. I think we're 10 steps closer than we were yesterday, though. So I'm going to have to put this up for the night, and we'll pick it back up tomorrow. It is the day before Thanksgiving. Hoping to get this video out Thanksgiving. If you're watching it on Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving. But yeah. It's just too cool. Now the cab's not mounted. It's just hanging out there. I got air lines hanging off from underneath. Motor wires from the ESC up front. But yeah. Thing is coming along. Now I just made a small rectangular cut on the bed to allow those arms to stick up, and they're barely up above the plastic, so I think when we do our wooden bed we'll be able to hide all that pretty well. I don't know why the front won't go down. I mean, I've got the control box, battery, all electronics shoved up there. It just will not go smoothly. Gotta get that dump right. Rear's working good. It dumps right out. I did go ahead and bolt the bed on as well. I'm not looking forward to taking that off. Plus, we still have the added weight of a transmission, motor, drive shaft. And that's all going to be in the rear, where it already is too heavy. So yeah, I think we'll definitely be swapping out the springs. But yeah. For now, I'm just going to do this a few times and feel good about things. Almost went. Let me try something with it. I'll show you what it does with a rat rod on it. We get a little bit of lift in the rear, but not enough. That's aired up in the back. We're not getting anything now. But if you pick it up, it'll hold. But it's not being springy enough. So yeah, firm springs. See if that improves it. Take this off. It's nice and bouncy. Try the back end of this is really heavy. See if that makes a difference. Hey, we got the front to go down. Nobody would ever haul anything like that, but just can't get the lift. Plus we still got the ramps to put in there. There's so much weight on this thing. It's going to be a Very heavy truck. The tires are even bulging.